Finally,
Finally!
the United States Supreme Court is considering taking up a red flag case. The sponsor of today's video is the United States Concealed Carry Association. The USCCA is a fantastic spot whether you're a new shooter, a new gun owner, or someone who has had them for a while, like us old salts. Check them out. They have a lot of education and training materials, and as a byproduct of your membership, you get self-defense liability insurance. Utilize the link down below, uscca.com/GNG. It's in the pinned comments as well. And let's jump right into this case. So this case is P.Z. versus New Jersey, and the writ of certiorari was filed a couple weeks ago. And this case is something that Justice Alito hinted at back when, if you remember I did that video, It's Floating Above, about the Caniglia case. And the Caniglia case said that police, law enforcement, cannot seize weapons from a home for safekeeping. And I had a lot of questions following that video saying, hey, didn't this kill red flags? Well, no, that case was specific for this safekeeping function that some states have, and it killed that function as far as seizing firearms. However, Justice Alito did say that parts of red flag laws could be brought before this court, meaning the Supreme Court, for violations of the Fourth Amendment, and here we are. This case is that case. And I'll have a link down below to the petition, and it's 48 pages long, but I'll tell you the highlights of it real quick. And this is right from the petition. In the case at hand, New Jersey seized the petitioner's firearms for safekeeping pursuant to the Prevention of Domestic Violence Act. Although the temporary restraining order that contained the warrant was dismissed, New Jersey refused to return said firearms, quote, in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare, end quote. Because the petitioner's firearms were seized and not returned to him, New Jersey forever bars him from again possessing firearms. This is how New Jersey's firearms permit/forfeiture scheme systematically deprives people of their right to possess firearms in their homes. If states are going to have firearm licensing and firearm forfeiture statutes, then each provision within such statutes must pass constitutional muster. Petitioner argues that New Jersey's gun control statutes do not pass constitutional muster since they are vague and or overbroad balancing tests that do not provide sufficient due process or forms of redress, and that the situation requires this court's review for relief. So everybody in New Jersey right now is cheering. I can hear you from here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We have the same law. It's just they're worded a little different, and we're not the only states. Pretty much every anti-gun state that has a red flag now has this in some form, and this will challenge that should the Supreme Court take this up. It's currently before them for a writ of certiorari. It's in consideration. They have to approve that in order to take it up, and I really do think that they will, based off of Justice Alito's comments in the Caniglia case. So you get the background here. Domestic violence restraining order was issued, and New Jersey issues these warrants for safekeeping for firearms. And many of your states may do the same thing as well. If you think about it, if people get a restraining order, do they seize firearms? Most of them have some type of statute like that or condition. So the Superior Court in New Jersey didn't extend this restraining order, but the state filed a motion to seek forfeiture of his firearms and his firearms ID. And the court said yes, that because he had an AK-47 Century Arms version, and it was very close or similar. In this state, we have a copycat or duplicate clause. So if it looks like an AR-15 or functions like it, then that's banned because of our assault weapon ban, very similar to what New Jersey has. So because one of the firearms seized was a scary assault weapon that was substantially identical to those listed in the statute as being banned firearms, that's why they said you're not getting your guns back and you'll never have your Second Amendment again because of this scary gun. So it's now before the Supreme Court for consideration. Now, when you have a case before the Supreme Court, it has to ask for their opinions on some specific questions, whether it's one question or 30 questions. And these are the questions they're asking the court to rule on. Number one, what is the scrutiny level afforded the Second Amendment right to possess firearms in the home? When your rights are being in jeopardy of being stripped from you by the government, then it's a strict scrutiny standard. 99 times out of 100. Strict scrutiny, which means you really have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this person should not have said right or ability. But because the way Heller was worded, and it opened up a lot of these balancing tests in most states. Every anti-gun state uses a balancing test where they balance your right, our right. Do we need this firearm? But and they balance that against public safety. Will the public be safe if you have this very scary looking plastic and steel gun? But that's how they do it. It's strict scrutiny would be, all right, so this group of Karens is scared because you have a right to keep and bear arms and you want to own that rifle. Well, that's okay because that's your right. And it's not violating these Karens' right. They're just chicken shit. And that's basically what it is. So question 1 addresses that. Question 2, does a state's denial of a person's Second Amendment rights, quote, in the interest of public health, safety, or welfare, constitute an unconstitutionally overbroad or vague standard and or an unlawful balancing test in offense to Heller and or a wrongful denial of due process notice? Number 3, may government deny a person's Second Amendment rights in perpetuity merely because a firearm was seized from him for safekeeping and not returned? And number 4, is a warrant issued to search and seize firearms from a home for safekeeping valid probable cause under the Fourth Amendment? Now, if you haven't read the U.S. Constitution, shame on you. Whether you're a gun owner or not, shame on you. But I will tell you that the Fourth Amendment does not say anything about quote unquote for safekeeping. Now, the petition has some really good reasons for the Supreme Court justices on why they should take up this case. Let's take a peek. Number 1 says, review is needed to restrict states with vague, overbroad disqualifiers that lack due process and thereby unconstitutionally deprive citizens of their Second Amendment rights to keep arms. Now, the petition also mentions that New York requires applicants for licenses to possess firearms be of good moral character and presents no good cause for the denial of the license. Meanwhile, while New Jersey has good character and good repute in the community, and they also have the interest of public health, safety, and welfare disqualifiers. And because of that, they also want to address, does New Jersey's restriction upon firearms acquisition in the interest of public health, safety, or welfare should be found unreasonable and unconstitutional in offense to DC v. Heller and McDonald v. Chicago. Now, regarding the interest of public health and safety or welfare standard, the petition says that it's unconstitutionally vague, it's unconstitutionally overbroad, is a balancing test in offense to Heller, and it wrongfully denies due process, which we all know. The petition also says New Jersey's disqualifiers to firearms acquisition and possession because a person once had a firearm seized and not returned should be declared unconstitutional restrictions upon Second Amendment rights and due process. The petition also mentions review is needed because New Jersey wrongfully issues search warrants to seize firearms from homes merely for safekeeping. Review is needed to align states that resist this court's decision in Heller and McDonald. Boom. That's big because there are a lot of states, like I said earlier, that balancing test, they don't follow Heller. A lot of states, these anti-gun states, pass these anti-gun laws in direct violation of these major lawsuits, these major cases. And there will be a new one coming, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Don't forget, oral arguments are November 3rd. So stay tuned to this channel to see if the court approves this writ for certiorari. I just checked this week's orders and it wasn't in there, so we should be hearing something, I would hope, soon. Because the court session for 2020, even though it's 21, it's still the court session for 2020. It's coming to a close sooner than later. So hopefully they take this up. I really think they do because Alito alluded to it in the court case of Caniglia, which shattered the police seizing firearms from the home for the community caretaking BS. But yeah, so stay tuned below. I want to hear your comments, your thoughts down below. Do you think red flag laws are unconstitutional? And should the Supreme Court stomp them out? And while you're at it, hit subscribe down below to stay up to date with the Second Amendment news here on Guns and Gadgets. Sorry for the delay. It's been a little weird couple days here posting because we're dealing with Hurricane Ida storm damage, although she was a tropical storm here in the Northeast. We have some water damage in the home that we're trying to take care of, and Yeah, like a lot of people. It could have been worse. But that's why it's been a little crazy here. Till we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a weapon. I want to hear your comments down below on this one. I think this is the case to do it. I really do. I don't put all my eggs in the Supreme Court basket, but I think this is the case to kill red flag law. Hopefully. All right, guys. Have a good one. See you in the next one.